Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Rupa Publications India, I extend a very warm welcome to each one of you to the launch of Newsman, Tracking India in the Modi Era by Rajdeep Sardesai. So wonderful to see so many of you here. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome and introduce our distinguished panel for the evening, who will be discussing and debating the big question: who will win 2019 elections with our newsman? Mr. Sachin Pilot, President of the Rajasthan Pradesh Congress Committee. Mr. Naresh Gujral is a Shrimoi Akali Dal party politician and a member of the parliament representing Punjab in the Rajya Sabha. Mr. Gaurav Bhatia, National Spokesperson, Bharatiya Janata Party and the Honorary Secretary of the Supreme Court Bar Association. Dr. Kakoli Ghosh Dastidar, President of West Bengal Mahila Congress. She is a member of the 16th Lok Sabha, re-elected in the Indian general elections. Mr. Saudin Owaisi, President of the AIMMS. He is a 3-time Member of Parliament, representing the Hyderabad constituency in Lok Sabha, the lower house of the Indian Parliament. Mr. Yugendra Yadav, politician and founding member of Swarajya India and Jai Kisan Andolan. Now I'd like to invite Mr. Kapish Mehra, Managing Director, Rupa Publications, for the publisher's address.
Thank you, Vasundhara. A very good evening. First of all, to the honorable panel, I'm not going to repeat all your designations and everybody knows you, but first of all, thank you very much for making time today. I think Sachin, Gujral Sahab, Gaurav, Yugendra ji, ma'am, all of you are special for us because when we talk about a subject like this, it is imperative that we put together a panel with a diverse opinion. But most importantly, I think a publisher's address shouldn't be anything else but a thank you note. And it should be to nobody else but the author. So thank you, Mr. Newsman. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. And for allowing us to get into your living room, drag the columns, the writings, all of them out to create this book. It has really been a privilege to have had the opportunity to publish you. While a lot of people know Rajdeep and different facets of him, one thing I did learn during my journey as a publisher is that he is a foodie. So the big motivation for me, apart from the fact that one was getting the privilege of working with him, was to be able to enjoy the morning breakfast and the 9 a.m. coffee, and the watermelon juices and things that went on for about 2 hours. That provided the ultimate motivation to be there and make this book happen. But on a slightly more serious note, I think as publishers, our entire modus operandi is to be opportune, to put out certain content at a certain point in time. And while we were looking at different possibilities of books that could be put out at this moment, as we run up to the general elections, who better than Rajdeep and who better to comment on the current state of affairs in the perspective that he has had. While doing so, we did put together this book, which is now in your hands. And we are slightly apprehensive about what is the level of response we will get. Positive, yes, but how positive? Is it going to be 10x, 5x, expected? That's something you really never know. I mean, publishing is not an exact science. I wish it was. But I'm happy to state, ladies and gentlemen, the only way one can sort of quantify the success or the likely success of a book at a book launch is by mentioning that it's touched 10,000 copies in first day orders from Monday to Wednesday. Now, if that is an indication of Newsman, I must say that it's already on its way to being a bestseller. Is that because of the columns? Is that because of the subject? Is that because of the timing? Well, that's everybody's a decision that I leave to you. But if you ask me, it wouldn't have been possible without the man in the news. So thank you, Mr. Newsman.
Mr. Owaisi will be joining us shortly. May I please request the panel to kindly release the book? Before we move into the debate, I'd like to invite man of the evening, our author, Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai, to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Vasundhara. I wasn't going to say a few words, but I thought that we might as well wait till Mr. Owaisi comes. So that was one way of keeping you occupied. He's promised that he's finishing his namaz and would be here by 7:15, which is any time now. This is going to be a televised debate in terms of the fact that we'll put it out on air on Friday at 9 p.m. on India Today. So bear with us for a couple of minutes. But give me the opportunity, first of all, to thank each and every one of you for having come here. I know it's not easy in Delhi's traffic, particularly in the evening. So thank you all very much for being here at the Nehru Memorial. It was just under 4 years ago that I was at this very venue when I brought out a book called 2014, The Elections That Changed India. That was a book based on reportage and analysis over a period of time leading up to an election that in many ways was seminal and historic. An election that saw the first non-Congress majority government in this country. I thought of vaguely a sequel, possibly after the 2019 elections, if one has the time and energy and inclination to do so. Because I have no doubt that the 2019 elections in their own way will be equally dramatic, if only because the nature of electioneering in this country has changed beyond recognition. Also, some would say because of the man at the center of it all. But we can leave that for another day and another time. But the nature of politics in this country has changed dramatically. And I think one of the reasons I agreed to write a prequel against my best intentions was possibly because I believe that we live in an age where today's news is tomorrow's history. And therefore, I think it's important to document the kind of times, the turbulent, exciting times in which we live. And these writings and columns over the last 4 years will provide you some kind of a glimpse, I hope, into the dramatis personae and the key players, one of whom is just coming, who we will be asking questions to, from a party called the Shiv Sena, which doesn't know whether it's in or out. And that's going to be the nature of politics in the next 6 to 9 months. Because I think we are in that era where alliances are extremely flexible. There is a chapter in this book on Lalu Prasad and Nitish Kumar when they suddenly came together and almost became a Jodi number one of Bihar. 2.5 years later, they are possibly going to come back again, who knows? But for now are in different camps. So I think Indian politics has become more, it's now far more competitive than ever before, but also less of ideology, less of individualism. Anti-BJPism, some would say, has been replaced by anti-Modiism. But you have a very different kind of politics which is playing out in this country today. Therefore, I'm very grateful to all my guests for agreeing to participate in this. Mr. Owaisi, who's just joined us, Sachin Pilot, Naresh Gujral, Gaurav Bhatia, who's come at very short notice because Mr. Jayant Sinha, unfortunately, is stuck in a cabinet meeting, Yogendra Yadav, and Kakoli Ghosh Dastidar. I've tried to represent as many viewpoints as possible, and there are some in the audience who also represent parties like the Biju Janata Dal, Mr. Pinaki Mishra's party, which we don't know which way it will swing. Mr. Jay Panda, who as an individual is deciding what he's going to do next. So there will be individual alignments which will also change. Let me also very quickly, before we go into the debate, just also say this is a special day for me because my father was born on this day. And today Google actually did a Google Doodle on him, which I didn't know of. So it's, he means a lot to me, and that's the reason why I chose the 8th of August as the day to launch it. I'm very grateful to Shakti Sinha and the Nehru Memorial for giving us this space at short notice. I think Pandit Nehru, whatever else he was someone who would have encouraged this kind of free-flowing debate, and therefore I think this is the most appropriate venue. The idea was to keep it as an open audience, anyone who wished to come. Also, let me just make one final point. This book is dedicated to journalists. We live in times where journalists, particularly beat reporters, face far more difficulties than ever before. We've seen in the past couple of weeks, and the Editors Guild of India today has come out, thankfully, with a very strong statement on the times in which we live. And I think it is time for us as journalists to stand up rather than be willing to crawl when asked to bend. And therefore this book is dedicated to journalists, many of whom are my dear friends. I believe they must have every right to express their opinion, as must any individual in this country, and there must be what I call samvad rather than vivad. In the best tradition of that samvad, I hope this debate will take place without necessarily the noise of television, and maybe at the end of the day we'll have a little bit more light and a lot less heat. Thank you very much once again for coming. Thank you. As I said, this will be a live telecast. We'll do 45 minutes of debate and 15 minutes of audience questions is the way we planned it, so it's in full hour. I hope you enjoyed, but do stay silent, and if you can avoid putting your, being conscious of your mobile all the time, try and avoid it for the next hour, and keep the mobiles on silent. Thank you very much. Hello and welcome to this India Today special, coming to you at a time when we are entering the last stretch into the 2019 elections. Who will win the 2019 elections is the question that's blowing in the wind as the monsoon session of Parliament draws to a close. And with that in mind, we have a very special panel at the launch of my new book, Newsman, Tracking India in the Modi Era. Joining me are Kakoli Ghosh Dastidar. She is the rather tough MP of the Trinamool Congress. Maybe the party follows what their chief does, so don't go by her smile. She's an extremely tough woman out there. Professor Yogendra Yadav, long-time friend of the Swaraj Abhiyan and someone who's practiced the art of electioneering and election forecasting and then given it up sadly for politics. Gaurav Bhatia of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Naresh Gujral, the Member of Parliament from the Akali Dal, ally of the BJP. Sachin Pilot, the Congress's face in Rajasthan, its president in Rajasthan. And Asauddin Owaisi of the MIM, its MP from Hyderabad. Let's start with the question straight away and cut the chase. Who will win 2019? I suggest, Sachin Pilot, in the book, that the arithmetic that you're trying to build up is confronted by the chemistry of Mr. Modi. Mr. Modi remains the most popular leader in the country, and he will try and make the elections of 2019 presidential Modi versus who. Do you concede that too? That the elections of 2019, you face the challenge of Mr. Modi making it presidential, making it about his chemistry?
I think, Rajiv, that's already happened in 2014, because that election was some election where perhaps Mr. Modi was the PM candidate, but India did not know what he will bring and what he will do. 4 years later, it's safe to say that the people of India are going to judge the issues, the delivery, the rhetoric, the jumlas, the promises, versus what has actually happened on the ground. And to my mind, Mr. Modi's efforts as a Prime Minister will be squarely accounted for. The voters in this country, I think, are quite intelligent. It may seem like you can gauge and judge which way they will vote, but end of the day, it is going to be the kind of environment we have created in this country. Who are the people responsible for the kinds of things that are happening in this nation? And at least the young people, the voters that are aware, will certainly make the current dispensation accountable. And I'm fairly confident that you asked who is going to win that election. I think it's the more pertinent question should be who's going to lose this election. And that's going to be the NDA and the BJP. That's my firm belief.
No, that's your personal view, but I asked you a question. Do you accept that Mr. Modi is the most popular leader in the country? Therefore, if he chooses to make it presidential and ask Modi versus who, much like Indira Gandhi did in 1971, you will be on a sticky wicket?
Not at all. I think Mr. Modi will do what he wants to do, but his is a NDA government. It's a collective leadership, so he's responsible for the actions of all his party men. And some of his party men, as we all know, have not made very benign statements. So he's also answerable for those facts of life. You can try and make it presidential, you can make it personality-centric, but ultimately the issues will surmount. And it will not be about just individuals, it will be about the state of the economy, the state of the country, and much else that he has to answer for.
Let's just get those who, in a sense, represent, dare I say, the anti-Modi camp to answer that as well. I want to know from you, Kakuli, who is your chief minister, who is your prime ministerial candidate? Is your chief minister your prime ministerial candidate? Will you accept a Rahul Gandhi as the leader? Ultimately, whether you like it or not, elections in this country are becoming presidential, especially in the age of TV. People ask the question, Modi versus who? Who is your candidate?
None of the people, I guess, who watch TV, like you said, people are watching TVs. None of them will give him the egalitarian virtue. He is, whatever goes up must come down. And I guess he has it fullest in 2014. The country has been watching him, and the divisive politics that the party as a whole is playing. They failed in every other aspect. We just wish that the people win, because it is the people to whom we are answerable.
So the individuals don't matter.
No, this time.
Who becomes prime minister is not the question.
That will be decided, and the people will decide after the voting is done. The people at the moment are of the opinion that we want to get rid of these forces who are trying to divide India on religion, on caste.
So would you happily tie up with the Congress party and the left in Bengal?
See, that depends
if
because...
you believe Mr. Modi is such a big ogre, right, as you seem to believe, your leader seems to believe, will you tie up with the Congress and the left in a grand Mahagathbandhan for Bengal?
We'll cross the bridge when we come to it. But we have to fight these forces, the forces which are trying to break the country. I'll quote Leo Tolstoy. He said, how far you have gone is less important than in which direction you're going. The country today, with my apologies to Derozio, the country today is wild with the delirium of hatred. We've never seen this before in the country. We hate Dalits, we hate Muslims, we hate women. Women are not safe today. Every day, take it Kathua or Unnao or Uttar Pradesh or in Bihar, women are being raped, maimed, tortured. So the youth and the people of the country are today all eager and all up against one force, the divisive force of the Bharatiya Janata Party and whoever is heading that. So we will first rid this evil force from the country, and then we will decide.
Let me give the third anti-Modi face a chance then. Asauddin Owaisi. There's a sense that rather than reaching out to the Congress, you actually are being put up in various parts of the country to divide the Congress's vote. You are a vote katua, as they call it. If you believe, if all of you believe so strongly that the BJP has to be got rid of, then why don't you also join this Mahagathbandhan?
Well, let me thank you for writing this 230 pages book in which on one page you've written 3 lines about me. Thank you. It's definitely going to, Modi will try his utmost best to have a contest between Modi and Rahul Gandhi. And if that happens, then Modi is on a very stronger wicket. Once the regional parties come forward, which they're coming forward, Modi would definitely lose. Now, you see, 80 seats of Lok in Uttar Pradesh, 48 in your state. I don't think so BJP can cross 30 now from these two states. Because Shiv Sena has decided, I don't know, last moment if they decide to, join with it's a different reason. But regional parties would definitely take Modi on. And whether it is south of India, they're only going to fight in Karnataka. And as far as me, this allegation of vote katwa is concerned, Rajdeep, I can go on and on. You cannot answer my questions because in 280 I was not responsible. It is you voted for Modi. I didn't vote for Modi. As a community, we didn't vote because you voted. Now, Maharashtra, you voted for him. He got 42. I didn't vote. UP 72 seats, you voted. I didn't vote. I could not even win one seat in UP, in Maharashtra, in Karnataka. So, this whole talk about, the problem in our Indian politics is that, especially people based in Delhi, is that they believe that this country can be run only on the wisdom of BJP and Congress and the others are fools, they don't know how to run the country. That is not the case. I take it from me that there is enough talent, there is enough political stamina to take on Modi. Yes, Modi is a phenomenal election machine, but this time it's not going to be 2014.
Okay, before I come to the pro-Modi voices, just one word on what Asauddin Owaisi said, Sachin Pilot. He said, if the BJP makes it Modi versus Rahul, as it appears they will try, are you ready for that challenge? Is Rahul Gandhi really ready up for the challenge?
Rajdeep, I don't think it's up to Asad or Mr. Modi to make the election what they want to make it. It is what it is. It's not one versus the other. It's a coalition versus another coalition, and the Congress party is more than willing, has already been stated, to tie up with others. And why are you forcing her to give an answer about left and TMC? What if we can deal with both? How about that? You said Congress and TMC should get along, not get along. I'm saying we will find an alliance that is going to defeat the NDA comprehensively in every state. The Congress party is more than willing to cooperate and collate with any regional player.
You are willing to do one-on-one alliances in every seat across the country.
All over India.
In Rajasthan, you are not willing to go with Mayawati. You are struggling to strike an alliance with her.
17 parties came together when Mrs. Sonia Gandhi called them for a meeting on a particular issue. And I think all parties, regional and national, have to think about not just their own states and their own vote share, but also what they represent for the country. So going forward, the national narrative is far more important than what individual parties feel. And that, I think the Congress party is very clearly stated. And we all stand by that.
Okay, let's turn to that narrative. What is the narrative, Gaurav Bhatia? For now, I have focused only on personalities. But beyond personalities, elections are fought on real issues. And I'm going to come one by one to those real issues. Is the election for you about who should be the Prime Minister of India? Or is it who, according to you, offers the best agenda for change for the future? In 2014, you won on Achhe Din. You cannot win 2019 surely by promising Achhe Din once again. Now you're the incumbent. Now the questions will be asked of you.
Yeah, Rajdeep, first of all, heartiest congratulations to the newsman of the day. And you've done a phenomenal job. I would like to have a copy so that I can go through it also. But your question is very pertinent, and I would like to first answer it as a citizen of the country. Who would win the 2019 election? The leader who has the will to serve the people of the country, who has a vision to take India to new heights. And I say it with utmost satisfaction and confidence that one person who can do it and who has a proven track record is Mr. Narendra Modi. And why do I say that? Because as an Indian, we feel very proud when we see that after 70 years of independence, electricity has reached to the last village in our country. We feel proud when we know that 5 crore gas cylinders have been delivered to every household in India, irrespective of the religion of the family, and which wasn't happening earlier. We beat the targets by 8 months, providing toilets, many other things, the sensitivity we have for the farmers, and compare this to what the opposition has to offer. What does Mamata Banerjee say about the Congress? She says, Congress is a very nikammi party. So, these are the words. We are not saying it. Mamata Banerjee is saying it. Second, NCP Sharad Pawar says that anyone but Rahul Gandhi lacks the maturity. The JDS Kumaraswamy, after being sworn in as the Chief Minister, has tears in his eyes and he says, I can't take the blackmailing from the Congress. And I ask my colleagues, they are opposing Narendra Modi ji, but what is it that brings them together? One factor. There is a negative agenda, anti-Modi agenda, and I'm sure the people of the country can see through that agenda where there is not a feeling to serve the people, but it is to regain the throne. Okay. Whereas Narendra Modi ji says that my purpose is to serve the people. The dynastic politics feels it's their birthright to sit on the Prime Minister's chair and rule the country. And I think it is this spirit that will take down the opposition.
Okay, very strong words again. It clearly means that you are going to make this election at one level presidential, from what I could see. Increasingly about what brand Modi represents. Naresh Gujral, where do you stand in this? Because you know, the NDA allies at the moment are a very strange political being. We don't know whether you are with the government or not with the government. You've come out with some very strong statements against this government. Do you believe that this is a one-man show, that the allies simply have been discarded? And is that, according to you, potentially one hurdle that the NDA will have to cross? Because 2019 could well throw up a coalition hung assembly.
Rajdip, I'll come to your first question first, which you asked the other panelists. And that
you're avoiding this question.
No, I will come to this. I don't avoid any questions. You said Modi versus who? I don't think that is so relevant, because despite the fact that Mr. Modi is the best communicator, very effective leader, seen as a powerful personality, but don't forget 2004, it was Vajpayee ji versus who? And yet Mr. Vajpayee lost. So I don't think that argument holds good. And that now I come to the crux of my argument.
Is the Akali Dal saying that 2019 will be a repeat of 2004?
Let me finish my argument. What I am saying is, the success of NDA will depend on the kind of pre-election coalition that they are able to stitch up. If they are able to carry their existing partners and some more. For example, last time, at the last moment, we were able to bring in Chandrababu Naidu, and he was a force multiplier. Personally, I think BJP would not have touched 282 had Mr. Naidu not joined. So
there is a belief, Mr. Gujral, that either you will bring in a Chandrababu Naidu as a force multiplier, or there will be a Jagjeevan Ram moment. In 1977, Indira Gandhi lost when Jagjeevan Ram decided to desert her. Is there a possibility that someone will desert? Whether it's the Akalis, whether it's Nitish Kumar, whether it's Ram Vilas Paswan, whether it's someone within?
So that is what I was trying to tell you, that it is important.
Or the Shiv Sena.
It is important that BJP treats its allies with kid gloves. It is important that they do not try to get into their territory. They must be given their space. My friends from Shiv Sena are sitting here. I'm sure they will stay with them, provided BJP does not start demanding more seats from them. I'm sure Nitish Kumar would want his number of seats. I'm sure if they ask us for even one more seat, we will refuse. So these are the issues which are going to be very important, and this is where a Vajpayee touch is required. Treat allies fairly and give them the due respect.
You're giving me a news headline. You're telling Narendra Modi, please be like Atal Bihari Vajpayee. You're saying that on the eve of the 2019 election. I'm going to come to the Shiv Sena, don't worry, at some stage. But Yogendra Yadav, you've heard initial comments. How do you explain what's happening around us? I tried to simplify it as arithmetic versus chemistry. The regional parties looking to stitch up local alliances versus the chemistry of Mr. Modi. Is that an oversimplification in 2019?
Rajdeep, we heard about personalities, we heard about Jod Tod. We did not hear anything about the issues so far. Isn't that strange? This is not an ordinary election. In the last 4 years, this country has seen a sustained onslaught on the foundations of this republic. And I choose every word carefully. And therefore, 2019 cannot be only about Kaun Banega Pradhan Mantri. It has to be more than that. It's not about who, it's about what. And when you think of what, in terms of the equation that you asked me, clearly BJP would like it to be a contest of personality. They know they are on the stronger wicket. So ideally BJP would want it to be a contest of personality and lots of noise thereafter. Why? Because 3 M's favor the BJP. Money, unlimited access to money, now even illegal white money, thanks to the electoral bonds. Second, media. The kind of obedient, servile media that this country has seen. I know there are many journalists, editors, proprietors in this room. And when I say media, I do not mean journalists. But the kind of things that we have seen in the case of ABP, it just came out. And good that you refer to Editor Guild's statement, which is very forthright and straight statement. So unlimited access to media. And third is machine. An unmatched electoral machine that Mr. Amit Shah has put together. These 3 M's work. How do you meet that? 3 P's. Sorry, I'm learning from Mr. Modi all these tricks. 1, principle, some vision of India. The opposition has to offer some vision for what India would look like. When Mr. Pilot's party talks about corruption, I don't know whether to laugh or to cry. When her party speaks of saving democracy, I remember the Panchayat elections of West Bengal recently. When Mr. Owaisi talks about secularism, I don't know whether he's BJP's real supporter or BJP's opponent in this game. So, 1, principle. Second, policy. Would the opposition please spell out? No, I've said this is the biggest onslaught on the foundations of our republic. I can't say anything. Just 2 quick points.
Yes, the beauty of democracy is you have the freedom of speech to say so. Like you criticize Modi and still say that there is no freedom of speech.
I'm very grateful, sir, for your permission to speak.
That's not my permission. It's the Constitution of India which gives you the right to speak.
I'm so touched that you remember the Constitution of India.
Till my last breath will respect the Constitution like our party does.
Very quickly. So, second is policy. Will the opposition, Gadjod, Mahagathbandhan, call it by any name? Please tell me what are the 10 things you are going to do for this country other than opposing Mr. Modi? Policy. Third is political roadmap. Do you have political will to do what you promised to do? I don't see any of these 3 in the opposition. And that's why I fear that what we are going to witness is no substance and lot of noise, just personality. And the simple equation, Rajdeep, in this election could be, it's Kisan and Jawan versus Hindu Musalman. That's the equation that's going to be played out.
Kisan and Jawan versus Hindu Musalman. Why don't you become a political analyst once again? Give up politics. Then you can truly say all these things every night on television, which seem to make sense because you are truly in that sense a non-partisan independent voice. But he set the stage. He set the stage in a sense with his last comment. Kisan Jawan versus Hindu Musalman. Is that the nature of the divide that we are going to see at the moment, Mr. Owaisi? For example, when he reached, when he suggested that you don't represent secularism as Yogendra Yadav sees it, do you believe that this is about Hindu Musalman at one level, the Muslim as the enemy, as the BJP might project, versus Yogendra's hope that the opposition will offer some policy for Kisans and Jawans, meaning the youth of the country?
Yogendra Yadav is entitled to his utopian views. The reality on the ground is completely different. That is, that you have to take on Modi in every way possible. Now, when you go out to fight elections, you cannot draw a line because Mr. Modi has no lines of decency. Now, what Mr. Yogendra Yadav is talking about, let's
not make it personal, Asaduddin ji.
Let's avoid.
Don't make personal remarks.
It's a book debate, not a television religion
No,
debates over.
it might be
I will
any
let you-
debate,
Okay.
but I think we are discussing issues
Fair enough.
here. We are not discussing persons here and making personal remarks.
Okay.
Please, I object to it strongly. Coming from a man who says 15 minute के लिए पुलिस हटा दो और हिंदुओं को मैं मजा चखा दूंगा. Please, sir, with utmost respect, I am not here to take all these comments from you. Don't make it personal.
Okay, Gautam Bhatia.
Gaurav Bhatia.
All these Bhatias, whatever it is. So now, please.
First in India.
Please, yeah, please. I am not talking about complete political science degree. I am talking about basic politics, which BJP has failed, right? Now,
Speak on issues,
no,
Mr.
I'm
Owaisi.
complete.
Yeah, I asked you a question on the Hindu-Muslim issue versus Kisan Jawan.
Rajdeep, BJP would definitely try to make it a Hindu-Muslim issue. They have failed in security. What is the success in security is insecurity. A Muslim for a cow, Dalit for a cow. That is what BJP is doing and they'll continue to do that. But how do you take them on? Regional parties, again reiterate, regional parties. When it comes to Telangana, BJP is no more. When it comes to Tamil Nadu, they are gone. So this is how it's going to be on, you know.
So you're saying 2019 will be in a sense a repeat of 1996, where regional parties took center stage in a way in Indian politics. Is that the hope that you have, Kakuli, Ghosh Dastidar, that this is your big moment for a federal front? This is the second time I've heard someone say regional parties can offer a challenge to Mr. Modi in a manner that the Congress cannot. Is that how your leader, your party sees 2019? A challenge for regional parties to take on the national parties?
See, the clarion call for today is Sanvidhan Raj, to bring back the constitution in the forefront, because today the constitution is not being followed.
How can
Whatever
you say
Mr.
that? As
Bhatia
Yogendra
says,
Yadav
so,
said, ma'am,
we-
sorry to intervene. Yogendra Yadav said after what happened in the Panchayat polls, the nature of voter intimidation, the allegations of rigging, can Mamata Banerjee really go to the people and say she represents protection of the constitution?
See, I don't agree with you, because I was on the ground, and if certain places don't have those oppositions, if they don't come forward to file the nominations, I cannot go and file his nomination.
30% of the seats?
So there are more than 70% in Jharkhand and more than 60% in other states when you don't talk about that. So it is Sanvidhan Raj which has to be brought back, because in every aspect, the human liberty, the human right is being trampled upon. And today, we are suffering from a apprehension. There is actual war and there is virtual war. The actual war is where Dalits and the Muslims are being killed, women are being raped, fake encounters are taking place, and the virtual war is the Psy war, where character assassination is being done, and through the media, it is an organized crime, the Psy war, which is trying to spread throughout the country to make you scared. They don't talk. We're going to come at you. We're going to come at your throat. We're going to send the CBI and the ED at your home to raid. Don't talk. Choking of voices which talk loudly. So we have to get away from this serious affair in the country which is trying to trample upon the human rights and stand up. And our country being one of multiplicity, of multiple political parties all over the country and diversity. Each region knows its requirement best, so each region should stand up to this draconian force and fight.
You know, you're getting it from left, right and center at the moment. And I just want to understand, is this what you want actually in this election campaign? Amit Shah has spoken of the 51% election. He wants, in a sense, the opposition to come together, because then you have a ready-made slogan, "Wo kehte hain Modi hatao, main kehta hu desh bachao." Is that how you see 2019? Are you sanguine that even an ally close to you is warning you, don't take allies for granted? How do you respond? Is there a sense that you're being isolated at all?
First of all, I think with utmost respect to the panelists here, we respect our allies and they have a very crucial role to play. Even in the 2019 election, there could be differences. We would sort them out, we'll speak to them. But I would like to come to the main issue. The BJP is going to contest the 2019 elections on the plank of development.
Not on Hindu-Muslim.
Let me complete. Yes, sir, please. I have to respond to other panelists as well. we have delivered. I gave a few examples, there are many more. And it's not as if the political parties who are opposing Modi, they come together, then that becomes a winning formula. Because we all know what happened in the 2017 UP elections. Rahul Gandhi was out saying 27 saal UP Bihar, took a U-turn, allied with the Samajwadi Party. Combined, they were down to 50 seats, the BJP got 325. But I would ask this question to the other panelists. Mr. Owaisi should today answer that why does he say when we lose 5 of our brave Jawans who give their life for the country, that 5 out of 7 who have lost their life are Muslims? I want to ask, the TMC spokesperson, that why is it when Trilochan Mahato, Dulal Kumar or Khetaram in Rajasthan are lynched or brutally murdered, Mamata Banerjee looks the other way. Rahul Gandhi does not even care to question the lawlessness that prevails. And I'm not saying this. The Supreme Court said that democracy is in danger in West Bengal and there exists none on ground in West Bengal.
This. And
now,
we visited every spot where
let me make my point, ma'am. I would say as an Indian, it is good to oppose. Oppose on ideology. Oppose if Mr. Modi does something and you do not agree. Provide a better alternate. But on issues of national security, the NRC, which is being done under the supervision of the Supreme Court, and you people come out just because you feel that they are your prospective vote bank, you start opposing it.
You have been reprimanded by the Supreme Court.
Ma'am, I did not speak in between. So the point is clear. The BJP want even an opposition which is positive in its approach. Make suggestions. Rahul Gandhi should come out and speak on the Triple Talaq bill because it is not about a particular community. It is about empowering women.
You're saying,
and this is the commitment.
You're saying it's the opposition, Sachin Pilot, the BJP, and they've been saying this repeatedly, which is trying to make this actually about Hindu-Muslim by spreading fear. Whether it's the NRC, whether it's an incident of lynching, according to them, these incidences are being magnified to spread fear among the minorities as a vote bank. It's not the BJP which is playing vote bank, it's parties like yours, the Congress party, playing vote bank.
I'm surprised, Rajiv, that you can even say that with a straight face. The fact that you think the Congress is trying to instill fear in people's mind, let me first come back to what I was trying to say earlier.
No, he gave an example. He says
he'll give. No, you spoke on Rakbar Khan. You did a press conference. Rahul Gandhi tweeted, not on Khetaram. So I ask you, as
let me tell you, you want to speak?
No, I'm done. Please answer.
Let me tell you. In this country, the word mob lynching did not exist 4 years ago. Why is it today that people can be killed and maimed and murdered? And you do nothing wrong.
Every time. For a second.
No, let him finish.
That because in 1984 there was mob lynching.
And what happened later?
4,000 seats.
Brutally
murdered and
in this country, you can't keep blaming today's wrongs for yesterday's wrongs. First of all. Second of all, Sardar Manmohan Singh as Prime Minister in the Parliament House said, I hang my head in shame and I apologize for what happened. Will the current Prime Minister do that in 2002? Will not do that. In this country, what is happening in this country today? Supreme Court judges are coming having press conferences. You're destroying institutions 60 years we created them. And every single individual, not just Congress party, anyone who's politically inclined, anyone who's a nationalist was not questioned earlier. Today you're asked to go to Pakistan because we oppose BJP. Am I not a patriot? Do I need your certificate? And ultimately your good English will not fool anybody. You will try and make this election a Hindu-Muslim election, but we will not let you make this election a Hindu-Muslim election.
What did you make it? Let's be honest. As we saw in Uttar Pradesh, he made a point. They got 320 seats. You ended up with 50 seats, hoping that arithmetic would score over chemistry. Chemistry scored over arithmetic. I want to know if you're not. If you believe the BJP is determinedly going to make it Hindu-Muslim, what are you going to make 2019?
BJP is very smart. For the last 4 years, on every front, they've failed. Today, petrol and diesel is selling at 80 rupees a litre. They don't want to answer that question. Farmers are committing suicide. Dalits, women, every section today is living under fear. The bureaucracy is shaking. Today, a newsman like yourself or an anchor or an editor today leaves office, it's a talk of this country. Why 4 years ago, a change in a news channel editor was never even talked about? Because it's happening in front of our eyes. And believe me, the opposition parties, they'll be better arithmetic, they'll be better chemistry, and we will make sure that this country deserves better. All of
Yogendra
us.
Yadav says, what is that issue? What
And
is that
Yogendra
one
Yadav
issue?
Sahab, I tell you, I
Yogendra
respect-
Yadav raised an
Yogendra
issue.
Ji,
What
I
is the
respect a
issue
lot.
that the opposition is coming
Rajdeep,
together upon,
you know-
apart from anti-Modism?
I heard Yogendra Yadav ji, I've known him for a long time, I deeply respect him. But I know what it takes to defeat the BJP on the field. I can take high moral ground, I can preach till the morning, I can talk about what's good and what's bad, but ultimately we have to defeat the BJP for the game it plays. And today, I know I fought the by-election in Rajasthan, what it took me. If I went on and make these great speeches, which I can do, I have to defeat them on the hustings. And I know what it takes. It's all very well to preach. We as a political party, we as an opposition force have an agenda. There's a better blueprint, there's a better governance model, and free this country of the fear that we
Can
put
I
ourselves
respond
in.
to it?
And I believe today, whether it's the Congress party or some other party, all of us have to take an introspect as to where we're taking this country as a nation. Parties will come and go, Rajdeep, but the future of this country will never forgive us for the wrong decisions as an opposition we take today. And I, as a Congress person, am completely committed, no matter what it takes, we must approve the current dispensation.
I'll let you respond, but first, Yogendra Yadav, because are you creating a romantic illusion? You get all the claps. Many of the people who clap may not vote necessarily for this party, for the opposition. When they go to the poll, they'll say, oh, there's a khichdi out there, we don't want to vote for it. Let's turn to Mr. Modi. I've seen this happening in Gujarat in the past. Politicians often tell me Mr. Modi haar rahe hain. When it comes to elections, he tends to win. He believes that he doesn't need the politicians, he needs the people, he goes directly to the people.
I think what we witnessed in the last 8 to 10 minutes on this show is a glimpse of what this country is going to witness for the next 8 to 10 months. What he said, of course we don't want to make it Hindu-Muslim, and then went on to talk about triple talaq, selective lynching, and about Assam, NRC. And Owaisi Saab and Pilot Ji said in simple words, यार ऊंची ऊंची बातें मत करो, बीजेपी के साथ लड़ना है तो बस ऐसे ही लड़ना पड़ेगा. That's basically. So in other words, now I take that point very seriously about contending on the ground. Obviously we are not going to settle the future of this country in Teen Murti, and thank God for that. But in order, and I just would respectfully plead with those who, for whatever reason, are against this regime, and I do believe that it's absolutely vital that this onslaught on the foundations of this country be prevented somehow. But in order to do so, sir, you have to create hope. Election is not only about that bringing people together in a muscle power game. It's about creating a dream. It's about hope. Forgive me. When in Bengaluru, I see Mamata Banerjee, Rahul Gandhi, Sharad Pawar, Lalu Prasad Yadav's son, and everyone else, hope is the last word that comes to my mind. Am I wrong? I must have done something
So
wrong.
you're saying the opposition is unable to, in a sense, instill hope in people. You want to quickly respond to that, Sachin Pilot?
And that hope,
There is the sense of hope is missing.
Sachin, that hope, just to come, that hope has to do with some vision of India that you can put forward. Mr. Modi, for all his faults, actually sold a dream. It turns out that this was a fake dream. It turns out that the whole thing was complete fakery.
No, that's your
But there was a dream.
That's your view that it's a failed dream.
No,
Give me one example. When you say it's failed dream, give me one example where you believe Mr. Modi is a failed dream.
I'll give you many.
Give me
Number
one.
2 crore jobs. Number 2, farmers getting, additional expenditure on agriculture, farmers getting remunerative prices. No, everyone getting Rozgar, I said. Mahila Suraksha. Just remember those 10 slogans. Every one of them has turned out to be completely fake today. But the point I was making to him was, sir, hopefully not so fake, but you have to come up with a dream. And that dream has to do with some vision of India. What is that future vision of India that you want to tell me or sell me?
Let me for a moment ask that to Naresh Gujral. Naresh Gujral, if this is a battle of competing visions, who do you think offers the better vision? You're part of the NDA. You believe the NDA, led by Mr. Modi, offers a better vision than a UPA led by we don't know who at the moment? You mentioned 1984 briefly there because there's a lot of scars of the past that could be brought back in 2019. How do you see that? Who offers the better vision for the future? Forget the past for a moment.
Rajdeep, that is why I believe that we would be foolish if we make it a Hindu-Muslim issue. Because 60% of the population of this country is under the age of 35. And to them you can only sell an economic vision and not this Hindu-Muslim thing.
You don't believe if tomorrow in the month of September the Supreme Court, for example, pronounces on Ram Janmabhoomi in some form, it will become a big election issue even for the young. Do you see the divide as young versus old? Do you see rural versus urban? Yogendra Yadav and others keep telling me agrarian crisis is the issue that will divide people. Indira Gandhi was lost on a south-north divide in 77. The challenge for Mr. Modi is the rural-urban divide.
I come from an agricultural state. My party represents agriculturists. And I can tell you one thing, that in the last 70 years, farmers were given a bad deal, and it's for the first time that the MSP has been revised according to the Swaminathan formula. It's for the first time that the farmers will get a good deal. The proof of the pudding is
It's
going
not
to be...
according to the Swaminathan formula. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, yeah, let him finish.
Sachin comes from Rajasthan. Look at the MSP of the coarse grains. They will rise from anywhere from 60% to 120%. Has it ever happened before?
So you believe agrarian distress is not an issue?
I am saying agrarian distress is a huge issue.
But it's
but
being countered.
finally, some steps are being taken to address it. And if we can communicate that with the farmer, it will definitely fetch us votes. Number two, let's talk of the economy. The fact is, he said fuel is selling at 75 rupees a litre or whatever. Today, what is the Brent? Brent is today trading at 75 also. How do you expect the government to sell fuel cheap, yet take care of the farmer, give a new medical scheme for the poor, take care of the social schemes also, and not tax? I mean, this is Congress's wonky economics which they've always followed. The basic...
So you're saying Mr. Modi's economics offer a better vision? Am I clear?
I am saying, despite everything, this country is progressing at 7.5% per annum. More cars are selling today than they ever sold before. More motorcycles are selling today. More tractors are selling today. More trucks are selling today. More consumer goods are selling today. More taxes are being collected today. Is this money coming from the air?
Sachin Pilot, quickly respond.
I think Gujarat Sahib has made a fantastic comeback. He's made a fantastic comeback from where he started, and I think he's part of NDA still officially, so he has to stay there. But the fact is that in the 10 years of the UPA government, people don't say this often enough, Rajdeep, 140 million people were lifted out of abject poverty. The average GDP growth was more than 8%. Today, they've changed the formula for calculating GDP growth. They've changed the formula for calculating the national highway that you make. So both lanes are counted nowadays. And on top of that, today, the economic issues are startling. I mean, the note bandi, I still don't know what the country gained by having a note ban, except for some chest thumping that they did in UP elections. Beyond that, there's not an iota of evidence that I've seen till date that the country gained anything by having a note bandi. Point number two, the growth that we see today is a jobless growth. So the job issue is the single most biggest burning issue in my mind in this country, and unless we solve that, we have a huge problem on our hands. What we're seeing is rhetoric, what we're seeing is a lot of data, a lot of ads, of course there are a lot of the M's that Yogendra Yadav Sahab mentioned, all of that is at play, but ultimately reality will hit home and the people will vote on issues that are dear to them and they'll vote for the voices that are sane and that are right.
Let me give you one last shot at that and then I'll open it.
Can I just respond to that for a
Yes.
second, because I didn't complete my argument. Look at the mess that they left the banks in. Today, it is the insolvency code which is bringing these crooks to book. Did it happen in their time? They squandered the money away. Look at the way natural resources were squandered away. Today, every auction is a fair auction, transparent auction. Did it happen in their time? So why do you blame Mr. Modi for that? If you bring some discipline into the economy, is there something wrong with that?
Interesting. You want Mr.
What
Modi's
about
personality?
talking
You want
about-
Mr.
Excuse
Modi's
me.
personality to become like Vajpayee, but you believe in Mr. Modi's economics. But Gaurav Bhatia, are you
When people are running away with the
half a minute.
money,
Sir,
people
sir,
never ran away with money
What
with
kind of
thousands of
GDP
crores.
growth you're talking about with 0% exports? I mean, do you have a magic wand or what? I mean,
you are saying all these figures are cooked up. So you don't even
exactly.
believe the statistics at all.
Please, sir, please allow me to say. The exports are 0. How do you get 7.5? Why are you using the LIC money to give it to failed banks? Is this what you're doing?
You know,
Are you saying-
now, are you ready
Let me
Gaurav
just reply to
Bhatia,
them.
Gaurav Bhatia, are you ready for a debate in 20 as we lead up to 2019 on the state of the economy, on demonetization, on agrarian distress, on jobless growth? Are you ready for a serious debate on this, or invariably will it eventually come to Mandir, NRC?
Wait.
Will it come to the
I will
emotive
respond.
issues, or will it come to the real issues that affect the average person of this country?
There is less time in hand. I would like to respond to few points that have been
No,
made.
answer my question.
I am answering through some very relevant data. We spoke about farmers. You know, MS Swaminathan, what does he say? He says, but although the NCF report was submitted in 2006, very little action was taken until the present government headed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji took office. This is on farmers, and all the schemes and all I wouldn't mention, but farmers are progressing. There is still a long way to go. Narendra Modi ji is committed. Let me
Is
respond
Modi ji
and don't
and the
interrupt.
BJP ready
Let
for
me
an open
respond.
debate on demonetization, on jobless
We are
growth,
ready.
on agrarian
We are
distress,
ready.
and no more?
I will answer on each of the aspects that have been touched. But give me some time, please, Rajdeep. Be generous to us as well. Just because we are in power doesn't mean you wouldn't give us time. Second,
You have all the time, as I write in my book.
yeah. So
No,
Rajdeep, let me respond.
no government in the history of independent India has got as much time on prime time as you.
Now.
So please don't
Now
complain
let me
of time.
respond. Yeah,
Please
let me
don't
respond.
complain of time.
Now let me respond. Second is about destroying institutions. You know, there is a man sitting amongst us, Mr. Soli Sorabji. He is one of the fiercest, protector of our institution, the Supreme Court of India. A political impeachment was brought by the Congress when they lacked the numbers and the bona fide itself. The nation was made to suffer. The institution was destroyed by the Congress. And in 1975, the darkest day of our democracy was brought by Indira Gandhi during emergency. Let's not forget that. On petrol prices, they are very concerned. But they come to power in Karnataka. Within 15 days, the rates of petrol and diesel are hiked by 1 rupee by the government that they are actually part of. Last but not the least, we are not making it communal. What are we questioning? We are saying, why should dynasty politics be part of Indian politics? It should be merit, it should be honesty. The best people should come forward, like Narendra Modi ji, Amit Shah ji. They have risen up the ladder through their hard work. Now, I'm not done, please, ma'am.
No, when
So-
you attack dynasty politics,
Yeah.
they question you on the manner in which you are allowing the so-called fringe in a way to go unchecked. I have a comment from Mr. Naresh
So now can I
next to
complete
you,
myself,
One
Rajdeep?
minute.
Can
Mr.
I-
Naresh Gujral sitting next to you made a recent comment. I feel very perturbed that the fringe in the ruling party sometimes goes out of hand. I have seen them being warned, and I've been saying time and again that take strong action so others are restrained from saying so.
Right.
I ask you today also that. Why are you unwilling to rein in your fringe? Just as they can be asked questions on dynasty, you can be asked questions on what Yogendra Yadav and others believe is a serious threat to our Republican Constitution.
Now,
you
can
believe
I-
in equal citizenship or not?
Let me respond also, Rajdeep. You've asked your question, let me respond. I think the Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji and Rajnath Singh ji, both on the floor of the House, they condemned any act of violence, especially mob lynching. And the Honorable Supreme Court has just very recently delivered a verdict. There is a duty that has been cast upon us. A committee has been constituted, and any
Your
kind
minister
of
who was going to join
any-
here has garlanded people who are...
and he apologized. He was supposed to be here in your program. You should have asked him. But I am saying, I am the BJP spokesperson. Let me say this with some responsibility. Whether it is Rakbar Khan or whether it is Kheta Ram, both the murders or lynchings are equally bad. We cannot have our political decisions be taken on the basis of the religion of dead bodies. We cannot see the religion of the accused persons, and that is the philosophy of the BJP. It is the Constitution of India that has to prevail in India.
Okay, let me therefore, for a moment, just ask two political parties which could have a role to play if there is a coalition government, as some expect. My friend Sanjay Raut is here from the Shiv Sena, the editor of Samna. Every day in the Samna, Mr. Raut, you attack Mr. Modi. Now, I want to know very clearly today, on August 8, in August 2018, are you with the BJP or are you not with them? Are you going to fight Maharashtra elections on your own or with the BJP? नहीं मैं जानना चाहता हूं कि आप क्या करने वाले हैं. Okay, 1 minute. Let's get that mic again. We can get a mic which we can give you you, otherwise one of our.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask that question. Sanjay Raut ji, आप हमें बताइए. Every morning you attack the BJP in your editorial in Samna. Are you with the BJP or against? Will you contest 2019 with Narendra Modi ji and Amit Shah?
आपको भी मालूम है कि मेरी पार्टी ने एक निर्णय लिया है और वो निर्णय पार्टी की राष्ट्रीय कार्यकारिणी नेशनल एग्जीक्यूटिव
To fight alone.
Yes.
You will stick by that decision.
देखिए
क्यों?
राष्ट्रीय कार्यकारिणी का निर्णय है.
You are the original हिंदुत्व पार्टी. आप नरेंद्र मोदी जी और अमित शाह के खिलाफ है या बीजेपी के खिलाफ है?
देखिए हम किसी के ना एंटी है ना प्रो है, हम शिवसेना के प्रो है बस.
नहीं, अगर हंग असेंबली हो, बीजेपी सबसे ज्यादा पार्टी बने, will you support Mr. Modi as Prime Minister or do you want anyone but Modi? आप लोग मोदी से डरते हैं.
कौन?
शिवसेना.
हम किसी से नहीं डरते, आपको मालूम है.
आप अमित शाह से डरते हैं.
हम किसी से डरते नहीं, ये आपको भी मालूम है और आप सबसे ज्यादा हमको समझते क्या है.
I'm going to ask you one last time.
अगर हम डरते,
आप क्या चाहते हैं 2019 में?
अगर हम डरते तो जो आप सामना की बात करते हो या हमारे पार्टी चिप की बात करते हो वो बात हम नहीं करते. ये कांग्रेस और अभी बोलने शुरू किया है.
नहीं, आप सरकार में दिल्ली और मुंबई में है. मैं आखिरी बार पूछूंगा, आप क्या चाहते हैं 2019 में? हंग असेंबली, हंग पार्लियामेंट या नहीं? आप नरेंद्र मोदी जी तो आप चाहते हैं कि नरेंद्र मोदी जी एक बार फिर प्रधानमंत्री बने? आप क्या चाहते? शिवसेना क्या चाहती है?
हम चाहते हैं कि देश में एक मजबूत सरकार बने, एक ऐसे प्रधानमंत्री इस देश में बने जो सबको साथ लेकर चले.
और मोदी जी नहीं ले पाते हैं आपके घर?
मोदी चलेंगे 2019 में. अभी का तो मुझे पता नहीं.
और आपने साफ कहा कि आप अकेला लड़ेंगे 100%.
डेफिनेटली.
दिस इज नॉट हार्ड बार्गेनिंग.
देखिए पार्टी का निर्णय मैं आपको बता रहा हूं.
ओके, लेट मी टर्न टू द बीजू जनता दल हियर. पिनाकी मिश्रा, because your party is the most interesting of the lot. You are genuinely equidistant as of now. But if there is a hung parliament in 2019, who would you prefer? A UPA-led coalition or an NDA-led coalition?
Rajdeep, I'm not going to second guess that, as you know. It's impossible for me to second guess that. But when you talk about chemistry versus arithmetic, that's a very interesting proposition. Because Orissa, there is chemistry plus arithmetic. That's the happy situation in Orissa.
Who's your main enemy in Orissa? Is it the BJP or is it the Congress?
The fact of the matter is, we are sitting at about roughly 45% of the popular vote, even though in the Bijapur by-election recently we got 56%. But I'm not saying that 56% is the norm. The norm is about 45%. The BJP and the Congress together match up about 45%. One gets about 28-30, the other gets about 15-17. They can never tie up. It's a triangular fight for all seasons.
But Mr. Pinaki Mishra, the buzz in Delhi is parties like Biju Janata Dal, TRS, Jagan Mohan Reddy's party. These parties will be available to whoever gives them the best deal in Delhi.
Whoever gives the best deal to Orissa.
Whoever gives the best deal to Odisha.
To the
so
state.
there is no ideological opposition.
Whoever gives the, we've supported the UPA on issues, we've supported the NDA on issues. Both will bear out that on progressive legislation in Parliament, on both fronts, both with the UPA for 10 years as well as the NDA for the last 4 years, we've supported them when we've thought national issues are at stake and when we've thought Odisha's interests are at stake.
Okay, I have another Odisha parliamentarian who's had to make the choice. Which way are you going? You've left your party, the Biju Janata Dal. Is it true, Jai Panda, that you're on your way to the BJP? I get a sense from your writings that you prefer a Narendra Modi's style of governance to a Rahul Gandhi or anything that the opposition has to offer.
One of the aspects of making such a statement is that it looks at a very narrow prism. My writings have had a consistent viewpoint for the 18 years that I served in Parliament. And you can draw whatever conclusion you draw from that. I haven't yet made a decision. Hopefully I will soon. I just wanted to make a comment. If you look at the very interesting and engaging discussion you just had, out of the 6 panelists, 4.5 were against Modi.
Who's the half?
I'll leave that to you to figure out.
Mr. Gujral is the half. Mr. Gujral is the half.
Now, I'm not going to go further into that. If this were actually representative of the opinion of voters across the country, it would be a no contest. But clearly it is not a no contest. And you yourself, I think, have summed up the issues very clearly. And I agree, I think the arithmetic versus chemistry is the most crucial issue in the coming election. All the other factors that others have raised are also valid. I think it would be foolish to dismiss the arithmetic if all other parties were to get together. But I think it would be equally foolish to somehow count that this government hasn't delivered and will be out, despite the fact that poll after poll after poll shows Mr. Modi to be the single most popular politician in the country.
I can see you moving closer and closer to the BJP. We could have had you on the panel and made the gap a little more equal towards the BJP. But let me get 2 questions from the audience. If there's anyone who has a question, take a mic. Yes, Niranjan here. Yes.
Sir, this is Niranjan Dugar. I just want to ask you one simple question. We have discussed all about politics, everything, but we have not discussed about the common man, the common businessman, and what is happening on the ground level. What progress have we made in that in last 4 years, where we were 4 years back?
Is there a sense that 2019 will be an election as to is India better off in 2019 than it was in 2014? Is that a debate that you are willing to face, Sachin Pilot? If the BJP puts it, Narendra Modi puts it starkly, are you better off, whether you're a small businessman, whether you're a trader, whether you're a farmer, whether you're a young man in this country, are you better off today than 2019? Is the Congress ready to face that?
That is exactly the debate we want.
You want that debate?
Exactly. Because this country, each citizen of this country knows better than you and I where we stand. I'll just take 2 minutes. The point that gentleman made about are we economically better off? Is the life of an Indian citizen better than before? I mean, of all the slogans the last 4 years of Stand Up India, Digital India, Clean India, I mean, look at the Ganges. Is it any cleaner than it was 4 years ago? Thousands of crores have gone into that. So bravado, chest thumping, propaganda, advertisements and media blitz will not replace the hard economic tangible benefits that people expect of this government. So we want a debate to happen on farmers' issues, young people, jobs, economic growth and small businessmen. Why should we not talk about those issues? They're far more pertinent than a Mandir Masjid issue.
You're also ready for it, Gaurav Bhatia. Your party is ready to take on these issues which seemingly are the common man issues.
Absolutely. While respecting the question that has been asked, I think when we spoke about 18,000 villages being electrified for the first time, we are touching the lives of the common man. When we talk about 12 crore job opportunities through Mudra Yojana, it is touching the lives of the common man. Farmers' issues we had discussed, and we are always open to discussing. That is why I said the opposition also needs to play a constructive role. But when you start...
You don't think there is a gap between expectations and reality? The Prime Minister made a lot of promises in 2014, many of which, quite simply, no one can fulfill in 5 years. You can't clean the Ganga in 5 years. You can't give 2 crore jobs, let's be honest, every year. It's not possible. Do you agree?
I will give
part
you
of
an
the
example.
problem you face is the difference between hype and reality. That the Prime Minister is someone who's a master at hype. Reality sometimes tends to be different.
No, that's your perception, but I would say the common man believes that the Prime Minister of the country has also delivered. Yes, there is still more to be done for the country, and it is the intention, the will that counts, and the BJP and Narendra Modi ji has that intention and will. One more aspect I want to say, it is equally unfortunate that the Congress has to decide whether they have faith in the current electoral system or not. Because people like Shashi Tharoor, when they come out and they say that if Narendra Modi ji is duly elected by the people of the country, India would turn into a Hindu Pakistan, I think it is insulting the democracy that we believe in.
Every time I ask you an economic question, you go back to the Hindu-Muslim questions.
Not Rajdeep. Let me respond. You know, I will only take 30 seconds. No, Rajdeep, 30 seconds and no more. For me, and I believe for a lot of Indians, triple talaq is not about Hindu-Muslim. It is about women empowerment. NRC is not about Hindu-Muslim. It is about our sovereignty and integrity. And when I gave you the last example again, it is about our country, the democracy that we have, and the constitution that we believe in. Okay. This is not about Hindu-Muslim. The appeasement politics of the Congress has to end, and the BJP believes in empowerment, not in appeasement.
Let me get one more question. If there's a lady, yes ma'am, any lady out there? If we can have a lady, yes ma'am, what's your question? Let's get a lady there. Yes, what's your question?
Why don't we talk about population control? To how many people will
Okay, let's keep that on another day. Let me get, these are questions, this is not the forum. Yes ma'am, go ahead. Yes, very quickly.
Yeah, so, this election is going to, in the media, we're talking about Rahul Gandhi 2.0, Modi 2.0, 3.0, and blah, blah, blah. But nobody is talking about the country, and Lao Tzu said that, give a man fish and you feed him for a day. But if you teach him how to fish, you will actually help him survive. Through all these yojanas, this yojana, that yojana, we are actually, we don't know what's exactly happening on the ground.
Okay.
So who is concerned about the country? Nobody is talking about India and its landscape right now.
Okay, the gentleman here, Mr. Perez, yes. The gentleman here, take the mic. Yes, the man here in the gray. Yeah.
I want to address this to Gaurav Bhatia. Do you have a plan B in case your numbers drop below 200? Do you know who you're leaving?
So I'm sure that with the support and good wishes from all citizens like you as well, we will cross the 282 seats that we got in the last election. It would cross the 300 mark, and we have alliances and they are bound to increase when the elections approach.
The moment he said plan B, I saw a smile both on Kakoli's face and Naresh Gujral. That's the ideal situation. Both these national parties, Congress getting less than 120, BJP getting less than 200. Isn't that your ideal situation? Come on, Naresh Gujral, be honest. That's what you're hoping. You wanted, your father became Prime Minister in that situation. You could become, something in the government.
I am convinced that the age of single party dominance is over.
Despite 2014.
Next year, no single party will be able to form the government on its own. That is their whole history. Now, age of coalition
You're
is
giving us
back.
a big headline. I can say Naresh Gujral says Narendra Modi will not be.
I am saying age of coalition is back, and I'm saying NDA will be back. Because even if, I'm taking the worst case scenario, even if Akhilesh Yadav and Mayawati and Congress combined in UP, Deva Gowda, Congress in Karnataka, I'm sure my friends will come back, they're not going anywhere. But at the end of the day, even if BJP was to be down to 190, 200, allies or pre-poll allies would be at least 35 to 40. And thereafter, we have friends like Pinaki and who are always there. They are what in Punjab we say this is the faluda on the kulfi.
But who will be the Prime Minister? Will you accept? Below what?
Of course.
Mr. Modi will be Prime Minister even if the NDA is below 200.
I'm sure he will be the Prime Minister, and I'm sure he will change with times. So don't worry.
You're saying Mr. Modi will change with time. Yes, Sanjay Raut also immediately, you also have lit up with that plan B question.
राजदीप जो नरेश गुजराल ने जो कहा है मैं सहमत हूँ. हमें अटल जी के जमाने का एनडीए चाहिए.
आपको अटल जी चाहिए, अटल जी जैसा नेता चाहिए.
अटल जी के जमाने की जो एनडीए थी
तो उस तरह का नेता चाहिए.
एनडीए आज एनडीए नहीं है.
नहीं, हमें भी बाला साहब ठाकरे जैसा नेता चाहिए. दे पाएंगे.
मैं बात अलग करता हूँ और आप दूसरे ट्रैक पर जा रहे हैं. मैं एनडीए की बात करता हूँ.
तो आप कह रहे हैं अब कैसी सरकार है? एनडीए की सरकार नहीं है.
हम एनडीए की सरकार ही चाहते हैं.
नहीं, आज क्या सरकार है?
आज एनडीए की सरकार हम नहीं मानते हैं. आज नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, हम 4 साल से बोल रहे हैं.
तो आप कह रहे हैं ये मोदी जी की सरकार है, एनडीए की सरकार नहीं.
जब एनडीए की सरकार होगी तो मुझे लगता है देश ठीक से चलेगा.
Okay. Let me therefore, since we've gone through this, one last time give our panelists, starting with you, Kakoli, therefore. Tell us what you think will happen in 2019. We are recording it so that we can again play it on the day the votes are finally counted next year. What will happen?
We have a lot of faith in the people and the constitution. It is going to be the constitution versus the bad governance of this government, where there is repression, there is regression, and there is a communal government. So the people will shun them, and NDA government is not going to come back.
With a prime minister like Mayawati
that we
or
will
Mamta.
decide later on. That we will decide.
Actually, we haven't spoken about the real elephant in the room, and many believe Mayawati could be that elephant in the room.
We will talk about it later, after we
so who will be the prime minister?
We will decide about the prime minister after we win the election, and we are going to win the election this time.
What do you think will happen? Give me your conjecture for 2019.
So I am of the opinion that it will be a coalition government. Now, who gets to lead that coalition, different thing. But definitely, regional parties will play a very, very important role in the next formation of the government.
regional parties will play an important role in the next formation of the government. Gaurav Bhatia, give us what do you expect?
We are very confident that the people of the country would support the decisive and dynamic leadership of Narendra Modi ji. We'll get more seats. And a question that should have been asked to the opposition parties you've missed. There are around, on last count, 11 or 12 prime ministerial candidates in the opposition. So who's their leader? What is their agenda? Is something they haven't spelled out. But for sure, Narendra Modi ji does provide country with a leadership that is formidable, trustworthy, and we will work for the people of the country. That would be our motto.
Naresh Gujral, you've already given us your prognosis. You believe a Modi-led NDA, but in a coalition format, no single party, 282 will not repeat. Am I correct?
You're absolutely correct. And I think you should be not ignoring the fact that some southern parties are going to play a pivotal role. DMK, for example. TRS, for example. Either TDP or Jagan. Now these three together are going to play a formidable role.
How much does the BJP need at the very minimum to form the next government? Because Rahul Gandhi has apparently told people 240 is the new 272.
My feeling is even at 160, NDA forms a government. Very simple calculation. 160 add 80, which is DMK, TDP or Jagan. Pinaki.
Sanjay Raut.
No, they are there. They are not going anywhere. Okay. And the pre-poll allies, that is more than 270.
Okay.
So there is no danger. NDA is coming back, and you love him or you hate him, Mr. Modi is going to come back also.
Love him or hate him, Mr. Modi is going to come back. Sachin Pilot is here to stay. You tell me your prediction then for 2019.
I think first of all in our politics, just one comment, Rajdeep, that we cannot be competitors, we should be enemies. And sadly, the acrimony and the venom that has been seen for the last 3 or 4 years is very disheartening as a countryman. But 2019 elections,
you're saying political parties should be competitors, not enemies.
We should not be. And I think what's happening nowadays is that it's hate, it's actually even violence, it's the negativity of it all that I think is very, very unsettling. 2019 elections is going to be interesting.
Your leader seems to want to settle it with a hug.
Well, and I think there's nothing wrong in that. There's nothing wrong in that either. There's nothing wrong in that either. But the fact that I just don't get into the debate, Gaurav, but the kinds of language some of your people have used is very unbecoming. 2019 election will be fought on issues, no matter how much presidential one wants to make it. The numbers, don't forget, Vajpayee's government fell by 1 vote. So all this good talking and bringing forward, NDA has lost 2 allies already, and many may be on the way. To my mind, it will be a government that will be an opposition-led alliance, which could be a UPA plus, it could be a federal front, but no other alternative which has not had a Congress as a pivot has survived. So I think it will be a Congress plus opposition parties and rainbow coalition. And mind you, no matter how much you stick at us, we've all decided that who will become Prime Minister will be decided once we win the election. It's simple as that.
If that happens, expect another election in 2020, because they don't give support for more than 1 year to any government.
Okay.
But we can take support, can't we?
Mr. Gujral is remembering his father and how he was brought down. But Yogendra Yadav, I'm giving you the last word, and this time wear your hat as a political analyst. What is your sense of 2019? As we saw in 2014, the BJP swept 90% of 11 states in what Praveen Chakravarti of the Congress Research Group has described as a black swan moment. It doesn't happen too often. States like UP, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat were a complete sweep. Given that, how do you see 2019 panning out? Can Modi once again identify himself with nation building and rise above, in a sense, the arithmetic that I keep talking about?
Rajiv, I wish I could share this excitement about the question. These days, I sometimes wonder why people waste time on election forecasting. I don't know. It doesn't excite me. Something else worries me. 20 years from now, if someone were to listen to this recording, and they would say this country was taking a few steps towards Putin's Russia, Erdogan's Turkey, the secular fabric of this country was being torn apart, and these people were discussing 160, 180, 45%, plan A, plan B. How would we look like? The question is not whether BJP has a plan B or not. Does this country have a plan B after what we are going through?
So you're saying
And I just want to make one
of
problem.
farmers committing suicide, not by which party is getting how many seats. Again, that's an easy
Just
position to take.
one
outside.
prognosis, one simple prognosis, Rajdeep, and not about numbers. I think the gentleman there said something very relevant. Let this election be about, and I'm sure everyone would agree here, let us pose a simple question. Do Indians feel better off today in every respect than they did in 2014? If the election is fought on that question, it has to be then about Kisan, Jawan, security, everything. Then whoever wins, even if BJP wins, the country wins. But if it is about triple talaq, Ayodhya, Assam, lynching, whoever wins, even if Mr. Modi loses, the country loses. That is the
I think on that rather profound note, Yogendra Yadav, and all my panelists who've joined us today, it's been an illuminating debate. We haven't had too much of crosstalk, not too much noise, which means that we can still perhaps talk to each other rather than talk at each other, see ourselves as potential rivals, not as enemies. In that spirit, hoping that the newsman triumphs over all else and we can give news without fear or favor. That's what we want to do ahead of 2019. Thank you all very much for joining us on this very special day.
Thank you. The newsman does it again. He's asked the relevant questions, evoked responses, stirred emotions, and left us to think. I'd like to thank our esteemed panelists for this engaging discussion, and thank you to you, wonderful audience, for joining us. The copies of the book are available outside for sale, and Mr. Sardesai will be happy to sign them for you. Thank you.
Dr. Paris of the Plan B field. Good to see you, Ajit. How are you doing?
I disaggregated a debate.
Oh, yeah, good one. Good one. It's just a very
I
good
thought he was going to let him have the sucker punch when he said, now you seem to have emigrated from the Samajwadi to the BJP. So you're preaching with the zeal of the newly converted.
It's pass out. Yeah, that's it. Look at